Good afternoon, ladies.
Hi. Good afternoon.
Let me open your micros. Now you can open your micros if you want to speak.
Hello.
Hello. Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Good evening.
Hello, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to the meeting, ladies.
Good morning to America. Okay.
We'll wait for a couple of minutes if somebody is joining us because we have more register. Okay.
I cannot see Roshan. Roshan is there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, I can see her.
you.
It's more. Oh, yeah. For Roshan, it's 4 a.m. in Australia.
Yeah.
Thank you, Roshan.
Yeah.
I can see Joe. I can see Anu. I mean, I can't see you, but I can read. Helen, Carmen, Moira. Great.
Some of you don't know Rana Sedine. Rana is my vice president.
Hello, Rana.
Is the first time that she's coming to this meeting, but she's the one responsible also for the international department, and she works very closely with me. Rana, you have the floor.
Good.
Now she cannot open the micro.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon.
Hi, Rana.
Hi. Hello. I know many people. Jasmine, how are you?
Hi. Kifak.
Stay in. Good. Everybody's good. Every ladies. Oh, I'm seeing lots of ladies. Hi.
Okay, let's start, ladies. I will put your micros off.
Except for mine, please. Don't forget.
Okay, then please, put your micros off, please, and welcome all to this meeting. As you can see, the title of this meeting is One Step Beyond to the Future of VPP. That is what all of us want. We want to review the Cairo Congress Finance. First of all, I would like to inform you that this meeting will be recorded and that that this meeting will be recorded and it will be shared among our associates. Please keep your video off if you don't want to share your image, as European regulations say, and also the Spanish organic law. In the essence of time, we consider that for a better understanding for all of us, we will allow the presenters to summarize the case, after which we will have time for questions and raise our concerns. As I said before, please keep your micros off. We will start this meeting with Regional Coordinator Diana Barragan, who will present us with an analysis of the Cairo Congress Finance case. From a legal point of view, that what will answer some concerns that have arisen. Then we will listen to past EFO, Roshan Strange, Then, Regional Coordinator Don Williams will address this matter from a financial point of view. And finally, we will interview past International President, Dr. Jasmine Darwich. Diana, please.
Yes, hello everybody. As Sylvia just told you, I will address the legal aspects of Cairo Congress Finance case. Let me introduce myself very briefly. I have three majors. I am a clinical psychologist in Geneva University, master's degree in the Graduate Institute of International Development Studies of Geneva. And I'm also an attorney at law in Ecuador, the Ecuadorian Bar Association. I am, as Sylvia said, current regional coordinator for Latin America, but I've also been past member of the Constitutional Advisory Committee, past chair of the Legislation Standing Committee, past president of BPW Ecuador, twice past president of BPW Quito, and a member of the board of BPW Geneva, where I started with BPW. In my capacity of attorney at law, on October 2018, BPW International Executive decided that we, Regional Coordinator Don Williams and myself, will follow the case of the Cairo Congress Finances with to supporting PIP, Dr. Jasmine Darwich, and past Executive Finance Officer Roshan Strange. Since then, I have followed this case closely, not only as an elected member of the executive, but also as an appointed member of this team. And I can tell you, I can assure you all that all has been handled correctly and in accordance with the governance document of BPW International. I would like you to excuse the length of my presentation, because I need to be sure that every detail that I have analyzed is also shared with you. So before anything, I'd like to excuse myself for that. I'm going to talk about the legal case, including the ownership of the company, CSC, which is also known as AAAZ now, the legal type, the probability of a lawsuit, evidences, especially the contract, because I'm not going to address the invoices. I'm going to tell you briefly that the company was created in 2012. This information we received from the lawyers. Okay. In 2014, Mrs. Maha Mohi Eldin Ali, I'm going to say Maha too, because it's very difficult for me with Arab names, who is International President Amani Asfour's half-sister, became an active partner, along with a silent or dormant partner. The dormant partner appeared to be current International President, Dr. Amani Asfour. She has the majority of the shares, and the liability lies with the active party, with her sister. In 2018, her sister, Maha, exits the company, and it comes into the company Amani's daughter, International President Dr. Asfour's daughter, Yasmin Khaled Mohamed. She took the place of Maha as an unlimited partner and general manager. In October 2018, the company name changed, became Akila Abdel Moniem Abdel Khaled Zayed. I'm going to shorten it and say, and her partners, and say, and call her AAAZ. Akila Abdel Moniem Abdel Khaled Zayed is International President Amani's aunt. She's the mother of our President's Office Director, Reham Abdel. And she becomes the partner and the general manager. In the legal advice that we received from BPW lawyers, they said that Imad Soliman, that is the lawyers hired by the company that is addressing us. And the letter dated 14 November 2018 states its legal representation of the Congress Service Center. However, at the time of the issuance of the letter, CSC had already changed its name to AAAZ. So it's not clear who really represents, the lawyers represent, as no entity under that name exists now. I can show you here, these are private documents that were received also, that showing that what I stated before, that Maha and Amani were partners, and then the shares, mainly 5,000 Egyptian pounds divided 500 for Maha and 4,500 to Amani. And then the change of names with Yasmin and the exit of Maha. And Ramani is still the silent or dormant partner. And now her daughter, at that time, her daughter had all the liabilities. And at the end, we don't have the document because this is a private document sent to us, where the other changes, the lawyers gave us the other document where we see the change of names and the new ownership. Now I have to explain to you the difference between a criminal and a civil law for those who are not lawyers and those who don't know the difference. There's subtle differences. Criminal law addresses state offense. An offense that can affect the whole society. That's why the punishment is greater. We have incarceration, and in Egypt, even death in some countries. Proof has to be beyond reasonable doubt. In the civil law, it's between privates. It's a private wrong. The punishment is compensation, sometimes incarceration, if the tort is beyond a reasonable doubt. Injured person is a plaintiff, and the burden rests with the plaintiff. And the proof is the preponderance of evidence, which means that you have to have more than 50% of proof. The different examples: bankruptcy in the civil law, defamation, breach of contract, property damages, some of the examples, and criminal forgery, homicide, conspiracy, assault, possession of a controlled substance, only some examples. You see the difference, the gravity in the criminal law. This is the firm BPW International hired to protect its interests. Shahid Law Firm, founded in 1987, is becoming one of the leading international law firms in Egypt. They are members of the American Chambers of Commerce, British Egyptian Business Association, Swiss Egyptian Business Association, Egypt-US Business Council, International Court of Arbitration. The owner of the principal lawyer is Mr. Girgis Abd El Shahid, is the son of the founder. He's a very young lawyer, but he's extremely personable, as they said, vast knowledge of Egyptian law, and he has been appointed on some of the most difficult arbitration cases in Egypt and the Middle East. Girgis specializes in dispute settlement. This is the lawyer that took care of BPW, Caesar Terniaden. He is a very nice person, very knowledgeable of international law, commercial arbitration, and also speaks many languages: English, French, Portuguese, Spanish, German, and Egyptian Arabic. So this is why he was appointed to us. It was easier for us. They are listed in the consular section of American embassies as work in Egypt. You see there the name, Shahid Law Firm. Now, since 2018, few months after the Congress, we have received threats from the international president, threats of a legal suit. Now, the threats came through her at the beginning, in her emails. So, for instance, Congress Service Center is filing a case against BPW International. In May 15, it can go up to jail as this is fraud, but also you will never be able to enter to Egypt. You and me will be convicted for fraud. But our lawyers explained to us that failure to make payments under a contract remains a civil or commercial matter. And without aggravating circumstances, there's no risk of sentence for a crime of fraud, go to prison according to Egyptian law, convicted guilt of fraud, condemned of fraud, sentenced to go to jail, etc. This seems for them to be mere empty threats and gaslighting. And I also believe they are right. On May 2018, Dr. Asfour included in one of her messages a supposed message from a person called Hala Hanafi, who has called herself Managing Director, Congress Service Center. And she said in that message, we regret to inform you that unfortunately, if we do not receive the full payment by the end of this month, that was May 2018, we will start immediate legal actions against BPW for committing the crime of fraud, of non-payment. The threats were never effective. They have come once and another. We had recently threats from Swiss lawyers. Dr. Asfour involved the current executive members in this matter, not related to our office, and forced the organization to hire a law firm to advise and protect BPW's international's interest in this issue. Is there a probability of a lawsuit started by CSE, also known as AAAZ, against BPW International? The lawyers advised that there appear to be no actual claimant to demand CSE's rights so far. The actual risk of an eventual lawsuit filed against BPW International based on the invoices is low. And we are of the opinion that the risk of any actual or real litigation at this point is low. As a result of the alleged threats of litigation, appear those for groundless, empty, and may amount to mere gaslighting. BPW may simply ignore the threats and emails so far, and they ask us to refer these threats to them, requesting that all correspondence is submitted to their office. Is there a probability of a lawsuit started by BPW against CSE? The invoices demonstrate serious and challengeable flaws and will, in light of the totality of the circumstances, ultimately allow BPW to demand CSE or its legal representative, which may ultimately expose the issuers to potential criminal liability as well. In light of the questionable source of the invoices, someone without the capacity to represent CSE, the issuance of the invoices may constitute an attempt to defraud BPW by the persons involved in the issuance to BPW International and attempt to collect them. Their submission may also amount to giving false evidence in the course of court proceedings. In these cases, we will advise BPW to seek the full prosecution of those responsible. This is their advice. It's not our will. We want things to be clear and transparent. We are not seeking to prosecute anybody. I mean, I believe, this is my belief, and I'm sure the team's belief is the same. Now, there are criminal offenses in this analysis our lawyers found, like contravention of the VAT law. Based on the foregoing flaws of the invoices, their credibility can be seriously civilly challenged in Egyptian court. Separately, the invoices may have been issued in contravention of the VAT law, resulting in potential criminal liability by those issuing them. This is our lawyers' advice. Now, concerning the contract, they said that to get to court, AAAZ must first establish the existence of a contract. As a result, in absence of a contract between BPW and AAAZ, aka CSC, aka CSZ may only claim costs and expenses incurred in the management and organization of a Congress based on a claim on undue enrichment or unjust gain. Under Egyptian law, in such case, AAAZ will be required to provide full admissible documentary evidence of all actual costs and expenses incurred. Hence, we believe the urgency to provide a contract and the presentation of the forged document received from CSC, aka AAAZ lawyers, as they were unable to provide a signed contract. And you must know that for a contract, you need certain facts, there are certain elements that are very important to be valid. The offer, the agreement, the consideration, the intention. If one of these main elements are not there, it would be an invalid contract. No third person without the knowledge of the offeree can accept the offer. Contracts will be voided if there is a mistake or fraud by one of the parties. One of the vitiating factors when contracts can be declared void is misrepresentation. Additionally, each contract has a series of formal requirements that must be observed, such as the signature of the parties, the date of fulfillment. The most common mechanism to express will and intention in a written contract is a signature. A criminal offense, as I told you, is forgery. I just wanted you to know what forgery means. Forgery is usually considered a crime when a person creates a false document or alters a genuine with the intent to defraud. If a person makes a forgery, he or she may be subject to criminal punishment, including imprisonment or a fine. Additionally, he or she may face civil liability. Now, I have copied here the last contract received, which I'm calling the forged contract. You can see the signature, the initials or signature superimposed on the text. I have tried another forged signature, Mickey Mouse here on the right side. You just have to copy the signature, Mickey Mouse signature, and put it in the transparent paper on top of the document and copy it again. So you have the signed contract. Not only the initials of the forged contract were placed on top of the text, but another thing is important for you to notice is that there is only one signatory who has placed that signature. When all the signatories, you know, because we are all professional women and business women, some of us, we know how a contract goes. You need to place all the signatures in every page. This is to avoid the other party to change in the pages, see? But you need all of them, and there's only one here. This is an example of how the initials on the sideline. You see, you have either on the right side or on the left side, never on top of the text. And you have all the signatories put their initials on the sideline. Here we have the original unsigned contract we received at the beginning of the year 2018. And you have different names to start with in the new contract. For instance, Reham Abdel has exited this paper. The dates are different. In the left side contract, you have 31st of October 2016, which is logical. But in the new paper, you have the 4th October 2017, which means 19 days before the Congress. We, as professional and business women, we also know that if you want something to be done, you sign a contract, if you are going to sign a contract, but you don't sign it when everything is done. Because in the contract, you put the criteria or what you want, the agreement, see? And this is dated 4 October 2017. As I told you, the last page of this forged contract, the person whose name is below the signature as representing CSC did not sign the contract. Somebody else did for him. This is what the text in Arabic, we found out, says, signed on behalf of. The gentleman in whose name the other person has signed sent an email in which he says that he has never signed the contract. To prove that he had the authority to sign on behalf of that person, he needed a power of attorney. You see, a power of attorney in anything, in any legal document is used if you want to replace someone else, take the place of someone else. Otherwise, it's not valid because anyone can sign for me, making me do or committing me to anything if there is not a power of attorney. The power of attorney attests of the agreement. Yeah? If you impersonate someone by signing on behalf of the other person without this person's agreement, is wrongdoing. Now, we've also found that it's questionable the legitimacy of the signatories. As I told you, Hala Hanafi and Moxel Lewis are not representative of CSC. They declare by email that they didn't have any legal authority to file legal suits or sign contracts on behalf of the company. They were only outsourced contractors. Rehan Abdel, from the first version of the contract, appears as Congress coordinator, but her name has been changed in the forged version. If I want to quote BPW lawyers, when they said about issues in the invoices and cannot be applied to the contract, the only person in the official capacity to represent CSC at the time, was Maya Ashmawi, a general partner in CSC, and who continues to hold 10% of the partnership shares. Yet, Mrs. Ashmawi has similarly indicated that she is not involved in the issuance of the invoices. Nevertheless, this statement needs to be updated because, as I told you, the active partner now has changed. It's Akila Abdel Moniem Abdel Khaleh Sayed. This is the person, the only one entitled to represent the company in any action. In the contract, in both contracts, in the original one and in this one, there is an article that explains this. Each party represents and warrants that it has the full right, power, legal capacity, and authority to enter into and perform its obligation under this contract, and that those obligations shall be binding without the approval of any other person or entity. Each person signing this agreement on behalf of a party represents and warrants it has the full right, power, legal capacity, and authority to sign this agreement on behalf of that party. This article was not respected in the forged contract. Now I have chosen 3 offenses in the penal code, in the Egyptian penal code. Any person who commits forgery in the written acts of an individual by any of the aforementioned methods or uses, and explains all that. I've read all the penal code. Or uses a forged paper while knowing of its forgery shall be punished with a penal service. Also, whoever gives false testimony in a civil case shall be punished with detention for a period not exceeding 2 years. Whoever compels a witness not to give his testimony or to give a false testimony shall be punished with the same penalty as that of the witness of false testimony, subject to the conditions prescribed in the previous articles, which means that if you compel someone to defend something you are stating, and that thing is wrong, you are compelling someone to commit a crime. Therefore, as a conclusion, the risk of a lawsuit against BPW is very low. If there was a legal case, it would be a civil case. BPW International has not received the document requested that would support the claim. Neither it has received the receipts for the amount already paid. As BPW International law firm advised, without underlying substantiation of all costs incurred, including but not limited to all invoices by subcontractors, proof of payment of such subcontractor invoices, including any applicable taxes imposed on such invoices, if any, as well as an accounting for profits realized, if any, particularly in light of potential amounts having been collected from sponsors. BPW International cannot acknowledge, much less recognize, that any obligation could be due without proper substantiation. Indeed, potentially BPW International may even be owed a refund of overpayments, if anything, if any. The threats issued against BPW are based on the existence of a signed contract. But as BPW lawyers said, as a result, in absence of a contract between BPW and AAAZ, that company will be required to provide full admissible documentary evidence of all actual costs and expenses incurred, as well as payments and deposits received, to demonstrate whether any profits were generated, if any. On the other hand, BPW International could be entitled to file a lawsuit against AAAZ if they wanted, which I don't think they would. The issuance of the invoices may constitute an attempt to defraud BPW International by the persons involved in their issuance to BPW and attempt to collect them. Last but not least important, forging signatures is an offense that could entitle those affected to a legal claim. To finalize my presentation, I should say a few words about why I accepted. I have gladly fought these 3 years to prevent our organization from chaos and destruction, to protect the members' money and to protect our values and ethics inherited from our founder, Lena Madison. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Diana. It was a very good presentation and for our legal advice. Now we will receive in the floor past Financial Officer Roshan Strange. Please, Roshan, take the floor.
Hello, ladies. Just to give you a little bit of background about myself, as many of you know, I have been the accountant for BPW International for the past 9 years. And just briefly, for that period of time when the current financial officer couldn't fulfill her duties, I stepped in to take over the role, which led into the Egyptian Congress. I have a Bachelor of Commerce and in accounting, and I've been a CPA, member of CPA in Australia for almost 20 years. I'm making the assumption that each one of you has received and read my preliminary finance report that was sent a couple of months ago. And so what I will do is reference that and also provide additional information to you. So anything that I show on the screen at this point in time in regards to the finances, I'm happy to share with anyone individually if they want, or I'm happy to share it in any way as a group. I just don't want to get too bogged down with the actual numbers rather than the position behind the numbers. So I'll start with showing you the current situation in regards to the, I'll have to share my screen. Share screen. Can everybody see that? Yep. Okay, so this is the situation at the moment as it stands in regards to the profit and loss for the Cairo Congress. Keeping in mind that none of these accounts at the moment are audited because we've got difficulties in being able to audit them. So if we have a look at the income that came through, I know that what the Egyptian Congress was actually in US dollars, but we report in euros, so everything has been translated into euros. So the total amount of income that we received in either registrations or various other items or sponsorships that ran through BPW's accounts, of which I'll get to, I'll elaborate on a little bit later, came to 478,000 euros. Then we had the expenses that we picked up in relation to the costs that we agreed that would go through. But the disputed items are currently sitting in the accounts as a minus here. So this item here, which I will highlight, is the disputed amount. So in actual fact, if the disputed amount is taken into account that we actually have to pay, the loss on the Congress would be 139,000 euros. So that's very important to note if we actually take into account the costs of the disputed invoices that we're currently discussing at the moment. So that leads me to the next question, or the question that was raised in my mind, that if we were in a position where we're going to actually have to report a loss for the Congress, then the question has to be asked, a further question has to be asked from me as the finance officer at the time. Okay, well, if we've received monies in sponsorship and we've paid the invoices that we assumed that we had to pay before the Congress began, then why are we in a position where effectively we may actually have to report a loss? So going further on that, and some of the issues that I've had with the accounts is trying to figure out in regards to the sponsorship amounts. Being able to try and pinpoint the sponsorships amounts was very, very difficult to do, because what happened with the sponsorships is the sponsorships ran solely through CSC's accounts, not through BPW's accounts. So the only information I was provided with in regards to sponsorships, and this is cash sponsorships, this is actual cash paid, I was informed by Dr. Amani only that the amounts that we received from various sponsors came to this amount. There was no paperwork to back this up. There was no contracts to back this up. There was no bank statements to back this up. So in actual fact, that amount for the sponsorships could never be verified. It couldn't be verified from a third party. It couldn't be verified by me. It couldn't be verified through a bank account, which made it very, very difficult to actually put any reliance on whether that amount of money was in fact the sponsorship amount of money that BPW received. So if I show you a breakdown of the income, you'll see here that you can see that the registration and other items was 353,000 euros. That was received through the bank accounts and entered into the accounts. So that could 100% be followed, a trail could be followed, and it was 100% transparent. This amount here for Microsoft sponsorship was paid directly to CSC, and it was advised by Dr. Amani that it was paid directly through CSC, but we never had any record of that amount ever coming through BPW's bank accounts at all. The same applies for this sponsorship for PepsiCo. The UN sponsorship was received through our bank account and a trail was able to be recognised, and there was transparency on that. We were also informed by Dr. Amani that we received 15,000 US dollars from the African Bank, $10,000 from the Trade and Development Bank, of which again, these amounts could never be justified. So this amount, and these amounts, there was no trail for those amounts. It was basically an email from Dr. Amani saying that we had received those funds, or CSC had received those funds on our behalf. I did request to have information in regards to the sponsorships, any documentation from those companies, but the information was never forthcoming. This last amount relates to the money that the operating accounts collects for a 3-year period. That's the 50 cents euro that is collected from every member, and obviously that can be used to fund the Congress. So the difficulty here, this was a very big problem, because from an audit perspective, this cannot be justified in any way, shape or form. So in order for the auditor to be able to recognise that, yes, we did receive that money, yes, it was paid to CSC directly to cover our expenses, there needs to be some paper trail of which we never received. So the other issue in regards to sponsorships is we were informed that the sponsorship total came to about $300,000 US dollars. So there's the cash component, which you can see there, which ran through the accounts, but then there was the in-kind component, which is basically means that were services provided to BPW that we didn't have to pay for from companies. So if those additional sponsorships came to that amount of money, then there should be some sort of record from that company to be able to say, yes, we gave BPW these services. This is the contract to show that we did it, and some sort of record behind even the in-kind sponsorships, of which there are none. So again, they can't be justified or reconciled, and there was no transparency with them. So that is a particularly big issue, especially from an audit perspective, because the amounts just cannot be substantiated. Then if we move to the breakdown of the CSC payments, which I'll bring up here, these here are the invoices that we received from CSC. And this is going on further from Diana. There's a question as to the legitimacy of the invoices, but I'll leave that because Diana's dealt with that. So the total of the invoices we received were $540,000 US dollars. We had already paid to CSC $348,000 US dollars. And we paid that in a variety of ways. There was the deposits that we made, the seed money payments that we made in good faith, and because according to the information we were provided with, all the costs had to be paid for in advance, which as far as we were aware, we actually did. And then there was some cash that was received at the Congress, and there was and then if you take into account that to reduce the amount of money owed to CSC, you also have to take off the sponsorship money that we received but have no record of. So that meant that after we paid the $348,000 US dollars, it left an amount of $191,000 US dollars that we're saying, hang on a minute, if we had to pay everything in advance, and as far as we can see, we've paid all this money, and on top of that, there was $300,000 worth of in-kind sponsorships. At this point in time, the question has been asked, well, okay, if that's the case, and we do owe that amount of money, then perhaps we need to investigate this a little further, because to have to report a loss on the Cairo Congress accounts is not something anybody would want to happen, especially when we all then start to scratch our head and say, well, okay, if there's still $191,000 US dollars to go, why is that the case? So then taking it on from there, basically we've asked for the source documentation for the expenses. So basically these invoices that we've received from CSC, we've asked for a breakdown of the costs. So what made up the rental of Congress meeting halls? How did it come to $37,100 US dollars? How did this Congress bags get made up of $7,800? So that we asked the question to get the source documentation to be able to again back up the expenses, not only because the question's been raised as to how we owe this amount of money, but also from an audit perspective, it makes it impossible to audit accounts without some sort of substantiation. So one of the questions I saw from one of the presidents is that often in the cases of service providers, they're not necessarily required to show you their source documentation behind how they come up with their costs. And one of the reasons for this is because they work on, they have to make money because it's a business. And so they might uplift some of the costs, which is fair enough in normal cases. But the CSC contract that we have actually states CSC will not add any extra costs above the cost of services identified in Articles 3, and they also will not charge a management fee, which leads you to the point that if there's no uplift cost and we're getting charged exactly what the service providers are charging CSC, then theoretically, the amount of money that we've paid here should match source documentations perfectly because there's been no uplift of the cost. So when asking for the source documentation, from a matter of, from an accounting perspective, if there's been no uplift, then we should be able to receive, say, 20 invoices that relate to the first invoice of 1861 and be able to match up the costs so they come to $37,100 US. We were never able to do that because the source documentation, again, was never forthcoming. So the other thing that was an issue too is that we were, because the monies was running through CSC's bank accounts, not BPW's bank accounts, we asked for copies of the CSC's bank accounts, bank statements on a monthly basis and a report of what was being paid on a monthly basis. This was never forthcoming either. So we could never actually see on a transparency level the money that was running through CSC's bank account that they had opened on our behalf. So again, it made it very, very difficult from an audit or an accounting perspective to be able to trace the money. And again, I must reiterate that the information was requested many, many times. So in regards to, there was also, there's a question of what the European members actually want from a financial perspective. And I'm quite happy to give everything that I have, that I can give. I can't give a list of the sponsors. I can give a copy of the invoices that CSC provided to us, but there's a question mark as to the legitimacy of those invoices. And the original budget would be something, because I wasn't part of the original budgeting process, because I came on so late, the Congress coordinator, Dr. Nock, would be in a better position to be able to give that. So let me just refer to my notes. So again, just on that note, just in regards to the budget, and if I refer back to my report that I sent a couple of months ago, and this is this is probably a sticking point, is that the budget, as I said in my report, was never finalised right up until the end of right up until the beginning of Congress, which at that point in time I wasn't overly concerned about, because I had been assured on multiple occasions that there would be no deficit. So, but as it turns out, if those additional invoices have to be paid, then there will be a deficit, a significant deficit. So, and just going back on what Diana has said too, from an accounting perspective as well, the invoices didn't have the required tax information on them, and also they didn't run in numerical order based on the date, which from an auditing perspective is quite worrying, because if you raise invoices, they usually run in a sequential order according to their date, but that didn't actually happen. We also received information from several people in Egypt that there was that some of the events that we had been charged for had actually been paid by local business ladies. So again, the whole thing, when you add it all up together, it led to the position where more questions had to be asked, and the answers to the additional questions that we asked were never forthcoming, despite many requests, not only from myself and Dr. Yasmin, but also from the current executive board. They asked for the information as well. Also, with the dealing with the CSC, we never had any other dealing with anybody other than Dr. Amani. So it wasn't a case of any of these invoices came from an employee or a third party. Everything ran through Dr. Amani. So, and she was really the only port of a person that could be contacted in regards to this to get any information. And so the information was never forthcoming. So just in conclusion from that, As I said in my report, the issue is not about trying to withhold the reports or not pay the money. The issue was trying to get to the bottom of the questions that we all had that were never answered. And I think from my own personal perspective, and as the executive finance officer in charge at the time, is that if we were able to get the source documentation from CSC in regards to not only the income that we received, that they received on our behalf, but also the service providers' invoices, and we were able to marry those amounts up. And if it turns out that that amount of money is owed, then it is owed. But at the moment, because we can't do that, it's very, very difficult for us to be able to say, well, yes, or very, very difficult for me to have absolute faith in the accounts of what we're reporting is a true indication of what transpired during the Cairo Congress. So if again, I can't make the point more clear, if we just receive the source documentation, then I think that we could have faith in what we have and be able to report the correct amount of the correct reports. So
Thank you very much, Roshan. It was very clear, your indications. Thank you. Please ensure your no.
Oh.
Now we'll give the floor to the regional coordinator, Dawn Williams. She will address this matter from the financial point of view. Mrs. Dawn, you have the floor. Dawn, you are on mute.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Now.
Okay, greetings everyone from St. Kitts. St. Kitts is the smallest island nation in the world. Thank you so much for affording me this opportunity to share on this very important issue. As said earlier, I'm Dawn Williams. I'm the regional coordinator for North America and the Caribbean. As a profession, I am a financial services professional and a service excellence practitioner. I retired from being an employee as CEO of the largest financial institution in our region. And in terms of my educational background, I attended the University of Leicester for undergrad, Wharton Business Schools for my leadership studies, and University of Wales, Cardiff for my MBA. I am now an independent consultant in the financial services industry, and I also do service excellence, which include mentoring, etc. My current engagement is as the project manager working on a merger and acquisition, the acquisition of Royal Bank, RBC, by a consortium of banks within the region. I want to make it clear that at no time did the executive decide not to make the claim payment of the alleged debt. What was reiterated is that for the payment to be made, we needed the substantiating documents. I can tell you that as a member of the executive, we tried for almost 3 years to manage this case within the confines of the executive room and not expose this level of unaccountability and inconsistencies in managing our members' funds. In an effort to resolve the matter, we exhausted every avenue to have the information needed and to make an informed decision. Unfortunately though, CSC to date has not cooperated, and so the matter is at a stalemate, hence our being here today. The executive, the current executive, agreed to have RC Diana as a lawyer and me as a financial services professional work together with IPP Yasmin and IPEFO Roshan in dealing with the case, hence my involvement. I need to give you a background on how I got involved. In May 2018, I received a telephone call from IPM Mani. That call was to request support for her to get IPP Yasmin to pay some unpaid invoices related to the Cairo Congress. It was the first time I was hearing of this, and without hesitation, I actually advised her that I was willing to support, but to make an informed decision, I would like to have copies of the invoices in question. The invoices received were not consistent with what is standard. And having practiced in the financial services world for my entire life, I know a standard invoice when I see it. There was no business registration number, there was no tax identification details, and that raised an eyebrow for me. Anyway, additionally, what I noticed, there was no substantiating documentation to evidence the origin of the debt. So I immediately advised IPM Mani that I did not have the required information to make an informed decision on payment of the invoices that she requested at the time. And I'm just showing a trail of the letters. I won't go through them in detail, but they are available on request. But this is saying, it appears, I ended by saying it appears, because totally innocent to all this, I said it appears that language, time zone, cultural and distance barriers seem to be the main cause of the undue delays. As an organization, we cannot afford to be taken to court for non-payment, and both companies all here are threatening to do so. To bring resolution to these long outstanding matters, I recommend and support that we immediately source the invoices, receipts, and pay/reimburse, because that's the only way I know to settle a debt. Nothing transpired between May and August, still no evidence in documentation. So at that time, we were having our regional conference for North America and the Caribbean in Orlando. And at that meeting, we requested an executive meeting with IPM Mani to discuss the Cairo Congress as it related to the outstanding invoices claim. This meeting was called on July 23rd, and the invoices were presented and scrutinized by the executive. Worthy of note is that all invoices were for round amounts. There was nothing with cents. Everything was round up to the even dollar. One of the inconsistencies that resonated with me was that some of the invoices presented showed estimates amount for sponsorship. Sponsorship is what it is. There's no estimated amount of sponsorship. So that also resonated with me. As an executive, we therefore asked President Amani to provide the actual amount of the sponsorship funding received, including the funds deposited to the CSC bank account, and the only sponsorship received directly was from the BPW International and from UN Women. 1 month elapsed without receiving the requested information, and so an email follow-up request was made on September 27th, and this request was for the sponsorship details, the bank transfer details for all sponsorship, and the substantiating documents for invoices claimed as unpaid. Just to give you an example of what the invoices look like, it just says $100 per person, $80,000. Sponsored 500 persons by Ministry of Tourism, $50,000. $30,000, BPW pays for 300 cash only. So this for me was not clear. I needed to understand what this was all about, because there were 800 persons from Four Seasons Hotel. This is what it's saying, but 500 were sponsored and 300 is being owed for. So we asked for the evidence. Similarly, there was a 35,000 charge for the Ministry of Interior Affairs, etc. Sponsorship by the ministry was for 25,000, and so 10,000. So this is the type of invoices that we were getting. And so we continue to ask for substantiating documentation. IPM Mani advised that sponsorship payment arrangements were made by BPW Egypt, local sponsors, the Ministry of Tourism, Antiquities and Interior Affairs, and directly to her as the HPC share and not to CSC. So the executive asked to have sight of payments receipts. A request was also made of IPM Mani to provide the executive with the agreed 10% of the profit from the tours, which he said would be shared between Escapade Travel and BPW International, and for the amount collected. As you can see, we were doing everything possible to procure the documentary evidence required to settle the claimed debt. There were a slew of emails, and I just picked some up so that you could see we did not just sit and wait. This was one on May 28th. I apologize for coming back to her late, asked for what we needed. Then again, there was her response on the 29th saying, I understand your commitments of work. The main objective is to understand the whole situation, so it would be great to look more on the documents. So we will extend the call for vote until tomorrow midday by Egypt time to give more time for those who did not vote during the commitments. I said to her, I couldn't vote because I didn't have any information that will give me the confidence that I was paying a bill that was owed. And so the email trails continued. I just want now to give a chronological order of the events as they occurred. The Congress ended on October 27th, 2017. CSA requested that all services be fully paid by the end of the Congress. So the issue of outstanding debt to CSC was brought to the attention of the executive in May, months after the bills should have been settled. We later learned that the first request for additional funds came immediately after IPM Mani requested and was advised of the positive balance on the Congress account. Immediately after, she made an improperly authorized request for the transfer of $185,000 from the Congress account to the operating account of BPW International, and we have all the evidence if needed. So as members of the executive, we knew we had a fiduciary duty to be fully transparent and accountable for how we manage and use the funds of our
Don?
to receive substantiating documents went unanswered, resulting in a unanimous decision of the executive voting against payment unless and until the full documentary evidence was received. This stance was ratified by the lawyers, as you heard earlier, and the executive colleague, R.C. Diana, has provided you with the details of that side of the evidence. So what I would conclude is that I'll start where I began. At no time did the executive decide that payment will not be made. What was reiterated is that the payment will only be made on receipt of and scrutiny of the evidencing documentation. As an executive, we tried for almost 3 years to manage this case. We really didn't want to air our dirty laundry, but it has come to this. We've exhausted every avenue to get the information we needed, including asking the law firm appointed by BPW International to get same. Unfortunately, CSC, which is who we asked for the substantiating documentation for invoices, and IPM Money, who we asked for sponsorship funding evidence, have not cooperated on the matter. And so we've reached a stalemate. And in the absence of this information, as you heard earlier from the accountant, audited financials are not possible. The time is right to do what's right. Thanks for giving me some time, and I'm here a little longer for questions. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Son. We appreciate very much what you have explained us. Now we will give the floor to immediate International Past President, Dr. Jasmine.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I will start. Oh, it's not. I don't know what is. No.
No.
No puedo ni quitarla. ¿Por qué tengo dos? Porque aparecen como dos. Sorry for that. Yeah. So now you can you see that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
But if you can open a little bit the image, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We really appreciate this opportunity to make a summary of 3 years of work trying to solve the situation of the Cairo Congress finances. As an introduction, I born in the north of Mexico into a family of Lebanese origin, half Catholic, half Muslim, who installed in me respect for the diversity of origins and creeds, and to rule my life with the high standards of morals and ethics. In every action of my life, I try to honor this legacy. I am a medical doctor, gynecologist and obstetrician, surgeon, and shareholder of a medical group and a hospital. This career has shaped my professionalism. I joined in BPW in 1978, held many offices at the local, national, regional, and international level, serving BPW with dedication and honesty in every one of those positions. BPW is an organization that I respect and support utterly because I adhere to his goals, principles, and values. The duties of the immediate past presidents is be part of the executive for 1 year, advise the executive with the immediate past executive secretary, which in this case, it was Catherine Bossard, present the Congress proceedings, which are the minutes of the General Assembly, a year after the Congress, with the immediate finance officer, in this case, Roxanne Strange, present the finance and audit report a year after the Congress. As a background about the Cairo Congress was granted to BPW Egypt by the General Assembly of Helsinki Congress in 2011. No actions were made during the triennium 2011-14 in preparation for this Congress. The Executive 2014-17 formed the International Planning Committee, IPC, and took the decisions of the Congress as correspond. Past International President Dr. Choncha Nok Biraban was appointed as Congress Coordinator. Congress Coordinator is a paid position. The Hosting Planning Committee, HPC, integrated by BPW Egypt members, was chaired by Dr. Amani Asfour, at that moment first Vice President during this triennium. The decision to hire a professional Congress organizer was not needed, as Vice President Dr. Asfour kindly offered that Congress Service Center can do this job for us as part of the HPC without any cost. The executive gratefully accepted this offer. Past International President Nok ratified this offer in her 2015 report as Congress Coordinator. Congress Service Center is responsible for negotiating prices with service providers to get reduced rates. CSC is not a professional Congress organizer, but does part of the work of PCO without incurring additional fee. All the decisions about the Congress were based in a cordial environment of sisterhood and trust. Vice President Dr. Asfour provided the estimate cost of the services to draft the Congress budget. BPW Egypt members, as Hosting Plan Committee, worked with us in the preparation of the Congress. Vice President Dr. Amani Asfour as HPC Chair, Dr. Omnia Fahmy, BPW Egypt President at that time as Congress Service Center, Congress Logistic, young BPW Riham Abdel, Dr. Asfour Nis as Congress Service Center, Congress Coordinator, Mrs. Hala Hanafi as Congress Service Center, Congress Manager. For the Mina House Hotel arrangements, former manager of the hotel, Mr. Mohsen Luis, was introduced by Dr. Asfour to us. Congress Coordinator Choncha Nok Biraban present a report of the Congress in each executive meeting for the executive approval. During the March 2017 New York executive meeting, Executive Secretary Catherine Bossart present a motion to approve that Congress Coordinator Biraban and EFO Roshan be in charge of the Congress budget. EFO Roshan and I expressed several times our concern about the budget non-compliance. We always receive the same answer from the HPC Vice President Dr. Asfour. Here is just one of the emails in September 30. It is supposed that from me to Dr. Amani and Nok, it is supposed that the price of the registration will cover all the expenses according to the budget that we made. What I can see and what worries me is that we are not attached to this budget, and every day the expenses are more and more, and I do not recall that I request a luxury Congress. I request the price of each event and I never received. There is the promise that the HPC will cover all what exceeds the original budget, but until today, we did not receive this promise in writing. This is the immediate answer of Dr. Asfour. I will just read the marks. We will never do a luxurious Congress on the expense of the loss of BPW International. We know that the amount from the registration will never ever cover the expenses of a grand opening at the venue of the 7 wonders of the world, or even cover the preparations for this opening ceremony. It is exactly as you mentioned, that the budget only caters for a reception and not even dinner at the hotel. Then we will raise any money needed to have this luxurious Congress we want, and the gifts we want, and the printing we want, and the venues we want, and the luxurious food we want, and the entertainment we want. So we understand fully that this is our responsibility to raise any money needed to have an extravagant things. So please, Jasmine, rest assured that we will never spend a single penny unless we have an equivalent for it. Definitely, the money available from the registration will cover the ordinary expenses of the Congress. And the rest that you can see also. The executive involvement started in May 2018 after Dr. Asfour was prevented to extract $185,000 from the Congress bank account. She involved the current executive in the Cairo Congress Finances, requesting its approval of an alleged debt to CSC. The executive received several threats of lawsuit against EFBPW from International President Dr. Asfour on behalf of 3 different persons that within a month she present as CSC owners, Mr. Hala Hanafi, Mr. Mohsen Luis, and then Mr. Munir Wisa, pressing for the payment of the alleged debt to CSC without any source of substantiating documentation to back the claims. As of today, the sole argument present was, and I quote, "The services were received without complaint." Trying to find a solution, a special executive meeting was held in July 2018 only to review the CSC invoices. It was the motions present that some of you already received also the video, that the audio and the video. The motion in July was Vice President Susan placed a motion seconded by Regional Coordinator Diana Barragan. Vice President Susan Jones cites the request of Vice President Catherine Bossart and Regional Coordinator Don Williams to request to Congress Service Center the source documents of the invoices in question, including the services provided by the Hotel Mina House. Motion carried unanimously. Regional Coordinator Pinela amended the motion, seconded by Vice President Catherine Bossart by inserting the name to whom will be addressed and who will send the request, the time to end it, and the deadline to receive the answer. On July 25th, Dr. Yasmin Darwish, in her capacity as immediate past president, sent an email to Congress Service Center, Mr. Munir Wisa, to provide the request source documents ASAP so we can pay our debts. Motion with the friendly amendment carried unanimously. In October 2018, during the annual executive meeting held in Bangkok, the Congress coordinator, PIP NOC, Viravan, presented a report of the Congress. I present my report about the Congress proceedings and the Finance and Audit report. My report about the Cairo Congress includes the lawyer's advice document in English and Italian, and it was offered to the executive to bring the lawyers by Skype if they want to make to them any question. The executive decision during this meeting, Regional Coordinator Don Williams placed a motion seconded by Executive Secretary Bessie Hieronymus to suspend all payments to Congress Service Center until the Cairo Congress financial situation is resolved, and that the Congress bank account should remain secure under the purview of EPP Dr. Yasmin Darwish and past effort Roshan Strange. Motion carried unanimously. Regional Coordinator Don Williams placed a motion seconded by Regional Coordinator Diana Barragan that EPP Dr. Yasmin Darwish continue to work with the EFBPW Egyptian law firm that has provided legal advice on the Cairo Congress case. Motion carried unanimously. The lawyer's intervention started in August 2018 when Vice President Catherine Bossart hired an Egyptian lawyers who provide to her the official registration of Congress Service Center and the advice about the invoices. She sent to Vice President Susan and me this email. Enclosed, you will find the registration document of CSC. The translation of the important parts can be found in the yellow cloud attached to the respective parts. The document clearly states Maha, the half-sister of Amani, as owner. The registration of the firm was made in 2014. The official address is the one indicated on the first invoices. According to what the law firm BDO suggests, we should have new invoices with the indication of the registration and tax number. The ones were sent to us are not legal. For what we pay so far, CSE has to give us receipts. Moreover, the invoices should only contain the amounts BPW International had to pay. In addition to that, CSE has to prepare a list of us when the different payments of the sponsors were made to the bank account of CSE and what the amount of each of the sponsors was clearly indicating the currency. She back to her lawyers, and request, after got the registration of CSE, our past international president, who is responsible for the Congress, called Mr. Maha and told Dr. Yasmin that she had handed the company over to Dr. Amani Asfour, her half-sister. This transfer had been legally done, but it is not yet manifest in the official registration. It must have happened before the International Congress last October 2017. Is there any way that we could get hold of these documents? Mr. Maha refused to give it the past international president the mentioned documents if those will not be legally asked for. Dr. Amani Asfour is the actual international president. She left the past international president in the dark of her ownership and came up with 3 different straw persons as owners. If she is really the owner, which she did not tell us, then she will have to resign from the presidency. This is another email from Catherine Bossard with the lawyer's recommendation of another law firm, asking me to request one of the sponsors, Dr. Monasaki, to recommend us if that there will be good. Here is the names which Mr. Sahlul sent me. Ask Mr. Mona what she thinks of these names. At the end, we select in between 4 law firms. This is another email from Catherine asking the Marriott Mina House for the invoices. And as she's mentioned, the auditors need these documents to finalize the accounts. With my best regards. We never receive it. The Chase Bank account in USA is a savings and checks account. The check account is a BPW operational account and is under the responsibility of the current president and finance officer. The savings account is the Congress account and is under the responsibility of the immediate past president and immediate past finance officer. Executive Secretary Bessie Hieronymus only acts as administrator in both accounts. My reports to the executive, my last report of the Congress finances to the executive was during the Bangkok executive meeting in October 2018. As I did not belong to the executive after this date, I request to present an update report of the lawyers during the New York executive meeting, but I was not allowed. EFO Roshan was allowed to present a 5-minute report. It was not possible also to present a report during the European Regional Conference and Latin America Conference, to which the majority of the executive attend. As the executive appoint 2 of its members to follow the case, the executive had the opportunity to request from them information at any time if they wished. Conclusion. Immediate past finance officer Roshan and I are following the mandate of the executive not to pay any unsubstantiated document claims of CSE until the request backup documentation is received. We know that the Constitution requirements is to present the finance and audit report a year after the Congress, but regretfully, without the backup documentation that ensures the accountability and transparency of the Congress finances, we are not able to present the mandatory report. The case has not only financial and legal implication, but constitutional, ethical, and core values breaches, which we cannot disregard nor accept if we want to preserve the integrity and high-level standards of our organization and prevent them from damaging both the spirit and the future of our members. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Jasmine. Thank you to all the presenters for your information. And now all the presidents can arise any questions that you will have. But Dr. Dwarkwich, mainly we all have the opportunity to see some videos. The International Board has received a very shocking videos with the strong statements taped by Vice President Dr. Catherine Boshart and past President Dr. Antoinette Rook. These videos were posted in a BPW website and authorized by the International President. What can you say about it?
Me?
Yes, please.
Oh, sorry. I have no opinion on it. I think that, first of all, the only thing is, as an organization, we know that all the approvals should be by the executive. One advice that I receive, and I always appreciate that advice, is that the president presides, the executive decide. So the statement that it was approved by the president, for me, is the only thing that I can say. Of course, it's very uncomfortable, this situation, personally.
Okay. Mrs. Diana or Mrs. Down, what can you say about it, about the web page that we have received, please? You're on mute, Mrs. Diana.
Yes, I think it's a very, very strange way of publishing when there are ways to share among us our concerns and face the other party. But as far as I remember, Dr. Asfour, the international president, has always refused to face Dr. Darwich in meetings like this one. So it's a pity that she needs to, I mean, that this type of web pages and interviews are needed. And also it's very distressing to realize that among us, we can try to destroy other sisters, BPW sisters. This is my opinion.
Thank you very much. Mr. Don?
Yes, yes. I think it's very unfortunate. As BPW International, we do have a platform from which we should address our issues. And that's where this issue should have been aired, not a private website authorized by the president under the auspices of BPW International. And for me, that is a great problem I've had during this triennium, that the president does things without the permission of the executive under the guise that she is the international president, and that's outside of constitution and very wrong.
Thank you very much. Dr. Darwich, many of these statements are direct accusations of your performance dealing with the Congress finance. In one sentence, what is the problem that is causing great unrest in the International Federation today?
Mainly the inaccurate information that the members receive from unofficial members that have nothing to do with the case. And as I show you, even members that are aware change their mind according to time. So I think that the members has to be aware all this work that we present to all of you. It's not the review in 2 weeks or in 1 week or the sections of documents or whatever. We spend an amazing amount of time, and the less that we expect and deserve is respect to this work. And if they want to know the truth or the reality or the facts, you have to be in front of the persons that are involved officially. But unfortunately, this current situation started with the email that it was sent by Dr. Antoinette Roux to all the international board with her thoughts, with her analysis, that it was not taking in account any of us, the ones in charge of it. So I think that this is how start this, and how another members that were not involved on this were encouraged to follow this. So I feel sorry, I feel bad, because the members deserve respect.
Thank you very much. We were
Chair Sylvia, there's a hand raised.
Yeah, we have some questions that we have received by mail, and then we will go to the floor. Okay. We were informed that the reason for the motion of no confidence to the president was Cairo Congress Finance situation. What can you say about it, executive members or Dr. Yasmin?
Well, I am not part of the executive, so I don't know.
I can share for you.
But what I read in the document, it's I don't see anything about the Cairo Congress in the points that they express, and they send it to the executive. So
here you have the motion of no confidence, and in any point it says nothing about the Cairo Congress.
We don't have nothing to say about it. I don't have nothing to say about it. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. What is there a problem that CHC belongs to Dr. Amania Sfour?
I don't think there is a problem. As an executive member, I can answer that. I think all members must be preferred as experts if there is something that BPW organizes. I don't think the problem lies in that is Amani's company. I think it's a lack of transparency. I think that we have been asking, to start with, I didn't know that it was Amani's company when I started being part of the executive. And I heard her saying that it was not her company. So I was very surprised when I realized by the lawyers that it was her company. So why not strictly, directly saying, yes, it is my company, and I have the right to ask such and such. So this is my opinion. I don't think it's a problem to have a member provide services to BPW International. I think it is when there is not transparency about it.
Okay, and from my perspective, in the business world, it is permissible but there's something called related party, and you really should declare upfront whether or not you're a related party. Where the conflict comes though, and this is a conflict, because as the key person for the company and the key person for the organization, whose side does she take? And that is why it is very difficult in business to separate your personal business at arm's length, we say in the business world. So in the event that there is a conflict, you can be clearly away. So what she needed to do is have someone else be responsible for CSC while she carries the banner for BPW International. But she's found herself totally conflicted now and taking the mantle of CSC in preference of the international organization which she leads. And that is where the conflict comes.
Thank you. Dr. Darwich, there is an affirmation in Dr. Catherine Boshart video that is say that you disregard CSC and the lawyer's requests. What can you say about it?
Well, you receive in my report the attachment with all the emails that we sent to the one that Dr. Amani said is she told us that he was the owner, to Mr. Wisa. There is a trail of emails in my report. If you have time, I will appreciate if you read it. And also there is, I want to clarify something because the members were misinformed that the first letter from the lawyers were received on the August 2020. The first letter that Congress Service Center lawyers sent to us, it was a days after the Bangkok meeting. It was November 2018. With the same words that we received the service and we must pay the alleged debt no longer than 14 days. If not, they will proceed with a lawsuit. So immediately we asked the lawyers, because the lawyers advised to us only as an advisors and trying to support us. We received before October the report, and the cost of this report, it was $4,500 US, that they gave it to us as a pro bono in, how can I say it? Because the Dr. Monasaki was the one who recommended us to them. But after that, when we really receive a letter from the lawyers, then we back to them. And they start to contact Congress Service Center or the ones who appear as the owners. And they never, it was several requests to them to send the source documents. The only thing that we received, it was the same invoices, but in Arabic, which it was like a joke. And nothing more. So in May, the lawyers, when we have, because we have several meetings with them, always with Don Williams and Diana, the three of us with the lawyers, and they said, ladies, we are so glad to having you as a clients, but this is goes nowhere. These people doesn't want to fix the issue, because the main point of the lawyers is mediation. As always, Pinela said, we need the lawyers to do a mediation. Well, all the lawyers try to do that, but without answer of one of the parts, it is impossible to follow the case. So they recommend us to close the case. And we closed the case in May with them. We've made a final payment to them. And we never receive again another letter from this until August, just after the motions were placed. Then the August and December, and it's the same if you don't pay in 14 days. I also received a letter from a Swiss lawyer that it was clear that I asked and the executive never approved this law firm in Switzerland. They asked me to send all the money of Congress account to the operational account in London. Of course, that my answer was very clear, and you have also this trail of emails attached to my report. So all these requirements were answered. We never disregard any of the letters from the lawyers.
Thank you very much. There is another question directly to you. Dr. Darwich, did you request to the executive to granted you a time extension to present the accounts of Cairo Congress during the executive meeting in Bangkok?
No, because it's not the point to request to the executive a time extension when the executive is the one who decides that no payment can be made until we receive the source documents. So I don't need to request an extension for a decision that they made.
Thank you. Vice President Dr. Catherine Boskar is accusing Dr. Darwich to convince a total of 7 executive members that her position is the right one because she really wants a lawsuit. Executive members, please, what can you say about it? Mr. Don, Mrs. Don?
I don't quite understand the question, Sylvia. Could you repeat?
Yeah, my Vice President, Dr. Catherine Boskar, is accusing Dr. Darwich to convince a total of 7 executive members that her position is the right one because she really wants a lawsuit.
Oh, no, I think that statement is out of order, to be quite honest. I can tell you never once has Dr. Darwich asked me to be on any side. I got involved because of my level of expertise in understanding financial statements, understanding finance, and I've not been convinced by either side. My position is solely my position, and I can't understand why she would think that 7 professional women will be under the influence of Dr. Darwish. I can tell you that is false. It is not true.
Thank you. Vice President Dr. Catherine Boskar says that BPW International is putting in peril out of personal motives of Dr. Darwich. Which are your personal motives, Dr. Darwich?
Well, the only personal motives is my responsibility in BPW International as past president. I know that it was this polarization that if one side, another side. What I always said, the only side that we have is BPW International. There is no other. It's nothing about, oh, I'm supporting someone. It's BPW International. We are trying to protect BPW International for the damage. If that is all what we are doing. I will not run for any position. It's not my intention. I will not get a cent from this. If we save this money, BPW will not grant me to a percent because I protect the money. So which kind of personal reasons I can have? I think that the only thing that Roshan and I and the team that work with us, appointed by the executive, we are just trying to look for BPW International as our main goal.
Thank you. Dr. Catherine Boskar also states that Dr. Darwich is convinced that BPW International will win the legal action and will not have to pay the outstanding invoices. What do you have to say about it?
Diana?
Diana or Mrs. Dawn.
Yeah, could you please repeat the
Yeah,
beginning of the question?
she's saying that if we win the case, we will have to pay the invoices. That's why Jasmine doesn't want to pay.
If we win the case, we will have to pay. I'm sorry, I don't remember that.
We will not have to pay the invoices. That's what she wants, a legal action.
Oh, well, one thing I can tell you, I've never heard the team talk about putting putting BPW International in court. Even if we were sure that we were going to win, which as I explained during my presentation, I am sure, and the lawyers were sure, that there was no risk for us to have a legal problem. But we don't want that. First of all, it's not a good thing for BPW International to be exposed like that. But of course, if we go to court, if they put us in court, then we will have chances to win. Yes, I agree with that.
Thank you. Ladies, do you think that the approval of the motions could be a solution of the problem? You are mute.
Well, I don't know. Maybe Roshan can, because it will be the same. One of the motions, I think, said that we pay to CSE without any documents. So we will be in the same situation. We will have no documentation to produce the audit and finance report, that what they are claiming. So I don't think that this is a solution. And on the other hand, the one of the requirement that they require is to transfer the amounts that are in the Congress account to the operational account, and this is unconstitutional, and that Roshan and the current FO Giuseppa Seidita finalize the accounts, which is a conflict of interest because Roshan now is the accountant, the bookkeeping for BPW International. So she will be under the orders of the finance officer, she is now a contractor. I don't know if I explained myself. But anyway, I think that we are the ones in charge already claim the unconstitutionality of these motions, but I don't think that will be a solution for the problem of the Congress report, let's say.
I have 4 questions more, but before going to these questions, I will give the time for the floor. And we see that we have a question from Mrs. Haynes, Kristen Haynes. Please, Mrs. Christine Haynes, please take the floor, please.
Yes, thank you very much. Also, thank you very much for the detailed rundown with also some dates on it. I'm a little bit curious about how to find out about the deposits which were paid. Because normally deposits are paid before a Congress will be starting to be organized. So I'm a little bit, for me, it's a bit confusing when you were under the impression that there is no signed contract, why the deposits have been paid. That is my first question. And the second question is, you always mentioning the lawyer of IFBPW. I think it's interesting for everybody of us, how much money have we already spent on that lawyer? And from which account was that money paid? And if that is the lawyer of IFBPW, when are we going to receive the report of that lawyer, that we really can have a look into it and verify the report and have a more, like, as Dawn Williams said, that make a good decision, or intelligent decision. Thank you very much.
Ladies?
I can answer some of those questions. The money that was paid to the lawyers came out of the Congress account, not the operating account. And as to the amount that was paid, just bear with me for a minute and I will tell you.
Are you going to share?
I'll just look it up on the accounting system and I'll just tell you the amount.
Okay. And the other question, Yasmin?
Which is the other question? About what? Sorry.
Why have been the deposits being paid if everybody was under the impression that there is no signed contract?
Well, as I mentioned, Christine, we act in good faith. And if Amani, that it was my friend since 2002, and friend of everybody, offered this company, and NOC, there is the email of NOC, I think it's in my report, when she asked Riham to open the bank account and the requirements of monthly reports of the bank accounts, that it was not followed. So if you have a Congress coordinator to watch all this, to be in charge of these details also, you rely in this. You cannot, as president, you cannot be everything. Finance, executive secretary, Congress coordinator. So that is why we're a team, but everybody acts. If Amani said, no, don't worry, my dear, put the money here, there is, of course, that we will, and Riham ensure that they will send the monthly report. So we act in good faith, and maybe it was a big mistake, but we are in a sisterhood in BPW. We trust in people.
Just on that note, the amount paid to the lawyers from the Congress account is just over 15,000 euros.
15,000.
Yeah.
I think that I have the invoice.
And was paid by what account?
From the Congress account.
From the Congress account. Okay. Thank you, Roshan.
Yeah, it was a discussion during the Bangkok meeting that if the executive take the decision to continue with the lawyer, then the executive should pay from the operational account. And Amani refused, and she said, we already approved that Dr. Darwich is in charge of the accounts. Dr. Darwich is in charge of everything. So it's her account. So we pay from the Congress account. That is the responsibility of Roshan and mine. So we don't require the executive approval. What do you mean? You know, they approve the lawyer, they approve the payment. From where? They don't want to approve from the operational. So we pay from the Congress account. Yeah, correct. Which is the other question, Christine?
When IFBBW has paid for the lawyer, when will we receive the report to be able to make a thoughtful decision?
Yeah, I think this is for Diana, because we receive a clear indications of the lawyers. Mainly, a report cannot be disclosed when there is a conflict of interest of one of the members of the executive. But I think Diana will explain you better. And we have in writing this advice.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, the lawyers advise, and I agree with them, that when there is a risk of a lawsuit and the risk that we face the other party in court, that keep to be able to defend ourselves. So, and there was also the proof that information was being leaked to the other part of the, the part that was trying to sue BPW. So they said, please, this information is confidential. If we go to court, you can open it. So we are not, it's a lawyer's advice. And I agree with that because then we disclose nothing that can harm BPW. Thank you.
Yeah. Excuse me, Chair Sylvia. I must leave. I have a meeting on the top of the hour and it's just 2 minutes to there. So thanks very much, but I must leave.
Thank you, Dawn,
Bye, everyone.
for being here today and for clarifying us many questions. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'm also going
Thank
to
you,
have.
Dawn. Bye. Bye.
I'm also going to have to go because I have to get ready to go to work. So
Thank you, Roshan, also to you.
any additional questions, please just email me and I'll answer them the best I can.
We will do that. Thank you, Roshan.
Thanks.
Okay, then we will continue. There is any other questions in the floor? Moira, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I have probably the hardest question, and it's for Yasmin. I have no doubt of what we've been told about this evening, and I appreciate the work that has gone into it, but I'm really at a loss to know how we move forward. It's really not enough to be right. This has to be concluded. And I'm just wondering what the meeting feels about perhaps both sides agreeing to an independent arbitrator to take up all of the documents and all of the reports, and perhaps to report as an independent from outside the organization, because it does appear to be stalemate and it's doing irreparable damage. So that's just, I'd really appreciate your opinion on that if you could give it to me.
Yeah. Well, I think that also Diana can extend what we were talking about it, and the lawyers, we have no connection with the lawyers. They were totally independent of us. It was recommended by us, to us. So they tried to mediate, but as I said, how can you go to a mediation with them or with someone that you recommend, or if one of the parts cannot provide nothing? So it is very difficult when you, do you think that in 3 years we try for all the ways, but if there is nothing to support, only they say that you receive the services, you know that for the auditors, that the view of the pyramids and the food, it was great. They don't care. Give me the bills, give me the receipts, give me they don't care. Oh yes, you eat the food. Yes, I eat the food. But where is the receipts? Not even the ones that they send to us, these invoices that are mixed with the prices and the sponsors. There's no legality. And I'm surprised that now some people recognize us legally when they are the ones who advise us that they were not legal. So this is something that for me, I thought that being a immediate past president will be so comfortable that I will enjoy finally to be in the meetings, just get together, and it was a nightmare. And it's out of my hands. Also, I am only the past president, but I am not accountant. I am a surgeon. I have nothing to do with this. I am trying to do my best for the organization, because I don't think that is fair. As I mentioned in my report, for me as a medical doctor, just a simple numbers. How much cost how much we pay for almost 400? How much it was raised for a sponsor? More than 300,000. And how much is the debt? Almost 200,000. So the Congress in Cairo cost that will be $1 million. You know that the most that we pay for a Congress, it was $500,000. So that no one will believe in us. So really, if some of you is a mediator and you think that you can, good luck. Because really, we appreciate all the help that you can get provided to us. But the reality is that we request for that, as Dawn shows in her emails, since May 2018. So the mediators, it was already, how said, I don't know, that doesn't.
Yeah. So you don't see that as a way forward, and I can understand your position, but at some stage, we have to see both sides on the same platform so that we can understand what's happening. But I don't have any particular wisdom to add to it, other than to say that it's very difficult to see a way forward, and that's quite frightening.
I don't know, Diana, you have something to, Diana, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm sorry, but I just counted 2 hours, and I'm also doing things that I should do. Well, I agree. Is Moira?
Yes.
Yeah, Moira, I agree with you that something needs to be done. And I think the only way that we can understand things is to have a transparency, because I have found no transparency in our exchange, no face-to-face meeting, nothing that could show some goodwill. You see, we have tried so often to meet the other party, and it's just not possible. So to that point, we only get threats. Well, what mediation can be possible in those terms, Maura? I mean, as a lawyer, I can tell you, I also, in my law firm, we also work essentially for mediation, because we start with that with our clients. But the clients need to agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they don't agree with it, well, there's no point. We cannot force people to mediate. They want to be paid at whatever cost, and we need to prove that they really, that BPW really owes that money. So if you have another idea, then come with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The problem is that they don't want to mediate. They want to be paid. I don't know if you understand that. If you divorce and you want to mediate, well, you know that the other person might have the children, and then you agree that the husband should pay this and that, and they get together and they agree. That's mediation. But if they both want the children and they both want to refuse payment or whatever, well, it's a pity, because no arrangement can be made. So I'm sure that Roshan and Yasmin will be glad to pay whatever amount, but it has to be proved. Maura, it has to be proved, demonstrated.
No, I appreciate your position. That's
and mainly, Moira, it's not my money. It's not Roshan money. It's your money. We are trying to protect members' money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that.
If you don't mind, I will launch one important question that I think it's important for all of us also. Dr. Darwich, Dr. Antoinette Rook says in her video that you only have offered several stories, rumors, and accusations, and there is a possibility of a Congress deficit. And she considers that this is the reason that you don't want to present the Congress accounts, blockage to transfer the money, and the constitutions get ignored as the final report was not delivered.
I think that I present evidence in my report. I'm not just to go into rumors. Maybe I'm sure that, no, maybe I'm sure that the members during the past 3 years receive a lot of rumors, but the main rumor is Jasmine doesn't want to pay, almost also with tears. But I never go in this way. We act with responsibility and try, as it was said by Dawn and Diana, to avoid this uncomfortable situation that can polarize the organization. I really pray that the members just stay concentrated in the magnificence of this organization and don't pay attention of these little things. At the contrary, that show all of you that we are just following our legacy of the past presidents and Lena, that we have to keep this organization on track. If not, then we will disappear, in fact. So I'm really want to say that the report is clear. I present evidences, and there is no rumors. Rumors are just something that you cannot prove. Every single thing, we were very careful. We received a lot of advices that every single word that we put in that reports can represent a damage. So it was a huge work to present that report. It was long, a little bit long, but I think that everything was carefully brought and with all the proofs in the attached documents. I don't remember which is the other question that I cannot hear you.
Sorry, that you don't want to present the accounts because it was a deficit.
The deficit, yes, of course. Well, it's already said by Roshan, but we have no problem because as we have as executive a lot of emails that Dr. Asfour ensure us that she will pay for any deficit. This is not the point. If it's deficit, it's deficit, you know. But I am not worried about it. I am worried about how can we inform the international board that we have a deficit without a single paper. That will be worst, I think so, because now we can inform, here is all your money in the account saved. But if we present an account that we have a deficit, but we have no single paper, then will be worse our performance. I don't know if you agree with it. And also, well, you can see on the invoices that all the extravagance were charged when we received the promises that all the extravagances will be paid. So there are many things that we don't want to discuss, even all these details. It was the cost of the farewell party, $100, and we have the email from past President Nock that it will be $80. We not even discuss these little details at this point, because we cannot discuss any details when you don't receive the legal invoices.
But as I was informed, you have been charged. We have been charged for more people that was in the Congress. For
oh yes, the farewell party in the invoice is 500 people, and it was no more than 300. We have the video. We count the tables. Because it was the 200 members went into the dinner without ticket. You know, there is no hotel in the world that can give it to you dinner last minute for 200 people. I hope that you agree with me. Even, well, I don't want to go further, but no, we have the video of the farewell party and we count the tables. They charged to us 500 dinners, and it was not. Same for the opening ceremony.
One more question. In the time that you have been in the executive, you have with Diana, with John, with Bessie, with executive secretary, you have lived a lot of problems and different stress level that now it was exported to the international board members. You have some emails where there was a movement against Dr. Amanias Fur inside the executive, not only from the international board.
I don't, first of all, I don't like the against and in favor.
Not against, no.
As I said, we are focused only in BPW International, and I am not able to disclose at this point anything about it. But
about what
the only thing that I can say is that sometimes people change their minds, and one time, as I showed this email, that clearly Dr. Bossard, it was very clear that the invoices were not legal, that the moral aspect of transparency in confirm the ownership, etc. But now it's different. So I don't want to go into that because really I am very clear of the facts. I am very clear that it's a personal, I feel like it's a personal attack because obviously I was not the finance officer. It's like you are want to put the guilty on me also for the Congress proceeding that it was not finalized. The Congress proceedings is the past executive secretary duty. As president, I am responsible of everything, and I am okay with that. But it's hard and it's sad.
Thank you, Dr. Yasmin. Madam President, do you have any question? You can open now your micros. And if you have any questions, please.
Dime qué dicen en...
You don't have any questions? Okay, then thank you for attending this meeting. I will launch you a question. Please confirm if your doubts about Cairo Congress have been a little bit clarified, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's anonymous.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Now, after